Good evening and greetings, Kia ora. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters, culture and animals. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'm speaking to you on Gadigal land of the Eora Nation, and I appreciate that others are joining us from elsewhere, but everywhere we meet on stolen land. I'd also like to acknowledge the tangata whenua of Aotearoa and their claims over their lands. Sovereignty was never ceded to colonial forces. Thank you and welcome to Animal Save and the event to launch the plant-based treaty. 50 nations plus across the world are today going to be launching the plant-based treaty, which is there to highlight the effect of climate and environmental impact from animal agriculture. We will have a fun-packed evening with 3 speakers tonight, which we will be going through and asking you to complete a couple of actions. So please if you're on Twitter, please get your Twitter account ready because we'll be doing a tweet storm live. So please join us for that later on. A couple of house rules. As you'll notice, it's actually been recorded, this session. So please be aware that any questions or anything you put into the chat box there, then read out, they will be recorded. I'm joined today as a Country Save liaison. My name is Jason. I run Sydney Animal Save, Sydney Lab Save and Climate Save. We have Kat from New Zealand, Animal Save, Steve from Sydney Fish Save, Annie and Helen from Animal Save Australia as well, and Greta Cuthnell from New Zealand Climate Save, who is joining us as well, and from the youth group, the AJP. Today, we also have 3 speakers joining us. But first, we're going to have Greta talking about the plant-based treaty and what it's all about and why it's important today. We will then be followed by Emma Hurst, who will be speaking as well. We will then carry on again about the plant-based treaty and go through a few more different information bits about the website and why it's important. We will also have Chris Hurawai from ALL, environmental activist in New Zealand, joining us as well. We will then hand back to Greta, who will be talking about the treaty even more so. Today is an information session, so the more that we're talking about the treaty to make it easy for you is obviously what we're about. We've also then got Kristen Lee from Vegan Rising, who will be joining us as well for talking about the plant-based treaty. Kat will then be taking through some actions that we're looking to do live on air, which will involve, as I mentioned, Twitter. We're also talking through different actions on the website that you can be doing from now. Finally, we'll be having a Q&A. The Q&A, there's a chat box, as you see. We'll have Q&A questions you can type in there. We will be reading them out. Obviously, we won't be reading them all, but obviously we're interested in getting feedback and questions and to answer as much as we can do today about how we can bring the plant-based treaty website to life. I think that's enough for me talking. So I'd like to hand over to Greta, please, who will start the ball rolling tonight with the plant-based treaty.
Thank you, Jay. Hi, everyone. My name is Greta. First of all, I would just like to thank you all for being here today. We are all very excited to have you and introduce you to this new plant-based treaty initiative. So first of all, like Jay said, I'm Greta. So I run the Youth Climate Save chapter here in Victoria, Australia, and I'm also a youth ambassador for the plant-based treaty. So I'm going to start today by just introducing you guys a bit to the plant-based treaty and explain what it is about. So the plant-based treaty initiative it's a grassroots campaign designed to put food systems at the forefront of combating the climate crisis. So the plant-based treaty is modelled on the popular fossil fuel treaty, and as a companion to the UNFCCC Paris Agreement, the plant-based treaty aims to halt the widespread degradation of critical ecosystems that's caused by animal agriculture and to promote a shift to healthier, more sustainable plant-based diets. And this will also actively reverse damage done to planetary functions, ecosystems, and biodiversity. So we are urging scientists, individuals, groups, businesses and cities to endorse this call to action and put pressure on national governments to negotiate an international plant-based treaty. So in our treaty, we have three main demands, which we call the 3 Rs. So number 1 is relinquish. So this is all about stopping the problem from increasing. So it's no land use change, including deforestation for animal agriculture. So a bit about relinquish. So this includes no building of new animal farms or slaughterhouses or the expansion of present ones, no conversion of any land for animal feed production, no clearing of forests or other ecosystems for animal grazing, rearing or animal farming of any kind, no new fish farms or expansion of existing aquaculture farms, protection of Indigenous peoples, their land, rights and knowledge, the ban of all live animal exports, and no new large-scale industrial fishing vessels. So number 2 is redirect. So this is about eliminating the driving forces behind the problem. So this is about the promotion of plant-based foods and actively transitioning away from animal-based food systems to plant-based food systems. So this includes declaring a climate emergency. It's about food security and placing that as a priority for all nations. It's about acknowledging small and local farmers, prioritising a switch to plant-based foods in climate action plans, updating government guidelines to promote whole food plant-based diets, aiming to reduce public consumption of animal-based food through education in schools, and transitioning to plant-based meal plans in schools, hospitals, nursing homes, prisons, and government institutions. So, and the third R is about restore. So this one is about actively healing the problem while building resilience and mitigating climate change. So it's restoring key ecosystems and reforesting the earth. So this is about reforestation projects to be rolled out in appropriate ecosystems. It's about reforestation and restoration of the oceans. All existing marine protected areas should be declared strictly no fishing zones. It's about restoring key degraded ecosystems, which are essential for carbon cycles. Focusing shifts to nature-based solutions. It's also about subsidies being made available for rewilding and reforestation projects. So that is basically a quick overview of the plant-based treaty and what we are demanding and asking from all of our governments and individuals and businesses and organisations. And so now I am very excited to introduce to you all our first guest speaker for the night, Emma Hurst, who is a member of the Animal Justice Party and is here today to tell us a bit about herself and why she has chosen to endorse the plant-based treaty. So Emma, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Greta. For anybody that hasn't met me before, my name is Emma Hurst and I'm a politician here in New South Wales, Australia, for the Animal Justice Party. I trace my passion for animals all the way back to when I was a young girl. I remember holding a hen in my arms and I was patting this hen and the hen was purring. And I remember thinking as a young child, this hen shows joy in the same way as my cat at home shows joy. But if I couldn't eat my cat, then I can't eat this hen. But for so many years, I was really a naive vegetarian. And it was many years later, somebody simply just handed me a flyer on the street. And I read about male chicks in the egg industry being macerated at 1 day old. I read about bobby calves in the dairy industry being taken from their mothers. And the lights just went on. I became vegan. I became vegan originally for ethical reasons, for animal protection reasons. And I've been working now in the animal protection space for over 15 years. And even though I went vegan for animal protection reasons, it still even took me a couple of years from when I first went vegan to also find out about all the health benefits of being vegan and the environmental benefits of being vegan as well. So when I was approached recently by the creators of the plant-based treaty to ask if I would sign on to this, I was really excited because if we're going to really make some changes, we need to have some big changes and we need to have some big asks. If you haven't actually read the full treaty, I highly suggest you do. It's been really well written and really well put together. And so as soon as I read it, I just said, absolutely, we definitely want to sign on to this. It's such important work while our governments continue to put their head in the sand. It was only recently that our entire country was on fire because of major climate change problems. And of course, we're in a country of drought. And I was talking not long ago to the water minister about what we're doing about the drought in this country. And she said to me that she was encouraging people to steam their vegetables instead of boil them. And I said to her, but we're using 600 litres of water, or over 600 litres of water, to produce 1 litre of cow's milk. And yet we're encouraging people to steam their vegetables instead of boil them, and that's the solution. So we need massive change, and this treaty really addresses that. We don't have time for small baby steps, which are constantly being promised by the government. It's not enough. We need people to put the real solutions on the table. And so that's why I've joined up to the plant-based treaty, and I'm really honoured to be able to do so. And I'll obviously be taking the plant-based treaty to contacts that we have with councils and with other MPs, and to really try to get as much support for this treaty here in Australia.
Thank you so much, Emma. That was really beautiful. It's really inspiring to see the passion that you obviously have for animals and our planet as well. And I completely agree. I think we've been promoting these small steps for far too long now, and it's time to take immediate and big action. And that's exactly what the plant-based treaty is about. So thank you so much, Emma. That was really lovely. So now I'm going to talk to you a bit more about why we do need this treaty. So basically, addressing fossil fuels alone is not enough. We need action on food systems too. So that's, of course, where the plant-based treaty comes in. And the 3 main greenhouse gases, as a lot of us probably know, are carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. And they are at record levels and rapidly accelerating. Animal agriculture contributes to all 3 of these gases, but is the main driver of methane and nitrous oxide. So in short, the plant-based and soft energy solutions can mitigate this disaster, and they are within our grasp, but we just need to implement them, and that time is now. So that's exactly why we need a plant-based treaty right now. And now I would like to introduce you all to environmental activist Chris Hurawai from ALL, who is going to tell us a bit about himself and why he is here today. Thank you, Chris.
Tēnā tātou katoa. First of all, I just want to acknowledge the organisers of this this initiative, our prior and future speakers as well. But of course, I just have to do a short mihi I te reo Māori. I know many of you probably don't understand te reo Māori, but it's required. So, ko puhanga toho rā te maunga, ko mangataua te awa, ngō nāpui nā te parau me te atiawa ahau. Ko Chris Hurawai tōku ingoa, ko tēnei te mihi kia koutou. Me ngā kai whakahaere o te kaupapa whakahirahira nei. Me mihi hoki ki ngā iwi o ngā whenua katoa, ko tēnei te mihi kia koutou, tēnā koutou, e mihi ana kia koutou katoa. A warm greetings, salutations, and acknowledgement to you all. So my name is Chris Hurawai. I'm from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I've primarily been an activist campaigning against intensive dairy farming. If you're from Aotearoa, or probably all of y'all, my cousins in Australia, you'll know that the dairy industry is our largest industry. Fonterra, for example, is the country's largest company. And it runs off of an export market. So for example, if we were to all go vegan or plant-based, besides of course influencing farmers who like to provide products for their communities, it would actually have quite a small impact. Although of course I recommend we all go vegan, we need to be acting politically. We need to be acting collectively as well. And one thing that I really love about the plant-based treaty is just how accessible it makes activism and advocating. It's great in terms of the campaign hub. If you've not seen the campaign hub on the plant-based treaty website, I really recommend that people have a look, as it creates pathways for us to engage politically with change makers. And there's a lot of really great information on there. Of course, we as individuals, it's hard to have the answers to the myriad of issues related to animal agriculture. And so having this incredible resource online for us all to access is a beautiful thing. And as well, the strength of a international collective initiative, such as the Plant-Based Treaty. It reminds me of similar groups that have had a lot of success internationally because they've been able to draw on the global vegan community to have a brand, you could say, or something to rally behind, for us to have that connective community type feeling, which I think really helps to push initiatives. So again, my mihi, my acknowledgement to the organizers behind the Plant-Based Treaty. When I first heard about it, I thought, oh, this might not go down too well with Māori. The last time we signed up to a treaty, it didn't go too well, but we'll do this one properly. We'll do this one better. And yeah, I really like how it creates a pathway for people. We as vegans, as animal rights advocates, are very aspirational. And I think one thing that we really need to work on is encouraging change and finding ways to effectively communicate our message, our aspirations to the public. We don't necessarily need everyone to go vegan. We don't need them to make that personal commitment. What's important for us is for people to be making that ideological commitment. So again, the Plant-Based Treaty has my support. I'll be doing my part to ensure that others sign up to the Plant-Based Treaty, and I really encourage others to put in that effort to make that commitment to at least get one other individual to sign up. It's like what we say, you know, you make one person go vegan, the domino effect. But this is a lot easier. Is what I would say. It's a lot easier to make people to sign up to this form of commitment, but it's something we can track. It's very hard to track how many vegans we have, but in terms of people signing on their name for this treaty, it's something that we can use as a measurable form of something we can point our politicians to, our change makers to, so that they know they have that public support. Engari, that's I think all I'll say for now. Again, mihi atu ki ngā kaiwhakahaere o te pō, o tēnei hui. Thank you. Kia ora mai tātou.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was really amazing, and we're so honoured to have your support and be with us on the Plant-Based Treaty. I know it's going to be the start of a lot of positive change within the world. So thank you so much for your support. So now I'm just going to talk a bit about who the treaty is for. So the Plant-Based Treaty is, of course, for everybody, by everybody. The treaty aims to address and mitigate the core causes of climate change, building a fairer, healthier, greener world for everyone. Anybody can sign up to the treaty as an individual, organisation, corporation, or as a city, state, or province. It's free, quick, and very easy to endorse and spread the word, like Chris was saying before, and I'm pretty sure he did a much better job at explaining it than I did. Thank you very much, Chris, again. So now I'm going to introduce you all to our final guest speaker for the night, and I'd like to welcome Kristen Lee, who is the founder of Vegan Rising. So thank you, Kristen.
Hi, thank you, Greta. Thank you, organisers and other speakers. My name is Kristen Lee. I'm the campaign director and founder of Vegan Rising. When asked to endorse a plant-based treaty, I took a look at the website and I honestly was so excited. I read through the demands, I read through all the information, and I was like, yes, that's what I've been saying for so long. That's what so many have been saying for so long. And yes, they covered that and they covered that and they covered so many important aspects of what really needs to happen. So I was just so excited to sign on. It's so important. For so long as an individual activist and from within various groups I've worked with, I've been raising the disastrous impacts of our food system on the planet and our use of animals within that as a major contributor to the climate crisis. I've spoken out at large and small scale so-called sustainability events, foodie events, bushfire relief benefits, both as an official invited guest and sometimes when uninvited. We've disrupted climate marches, occupied market spaces, and lobbied local government to pay attention to this issue. And I have to say, it has been really like banging my head against a brick wall. There's hypocrisy, there's greenwashing, there's ignorance from the grassroots up. It has been an ongoing source of frustration. industry, politicians at all levels, and most environmental organisations and individual activists, unionists, socialist groups absolutely fail to not only incorporate this issue into their advocacy for the planet and their demands for change, but they aggressively refuse to even acknowledge it quite often. Even sharing scientific data, clear studies which demonstrate that we must transition to a plant-based food system finds you as an animal liberation activist being accused of having an ulterior motive, as though we do not care about the continuation of life on this planet for both humans and all the free living and subjugated species who are already suffering due to rising temperatures and extreme weather events. The science can somehow be ignored because the messenger just happens to embrace a more holistic approach and practices what they preach. A transition to clean energy alone will not solve this crisis. Fossil fuels and animal agriculture must go. Even if the world transitioned to renewable energy tomorrow, we will still be in a climate crisis. A plant-based treaty, if implemented, does not only significantly reduce our emissions, it frees up huge amounts of land that we desperately need to start drawing down carbon if we're to have any chance of avoiding climate catastrophic collapse of our planet. Soil and ocean health would return, forests and grasslands could regenerate and rewild, biodiversity could flourish, and none of this can be achieved if the focus is only on renewable energy. We need urgent action on both, from both individual change right through to global system change. So to do so, we need a united global approach, which is why I was so happy to see a plant-based treaty being called for. Trying to do this alone as individual groups, organisations or activists just will not succeed. There is not enough time. So we're excited as Vegan Rising and individual activists and honoured to endorse and support the plant-based treaty in any way we can. And we look forward to making some real noise with you all.
Okay, thank you very
Greta,
much.
you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry, guys. Forgot to unmute myself there. I was just saying that thank you all so much to all of our guest speakers. It was so lovely to learn a bit about you and why you've chosen to endorse the plant-based treaty. And now I'm going to pass over to Kat, who is going to talk us through some actions that we can do and also what we can do going forward. Thank you, Kat.
Thank you, Greta. As soon as I see the screen, we'll start. Oh, here we go. All right. So we just want to go through some of the things that you can do. We've already talked about relinquish, redirect, and restore, and we'll go into some more details. Now, we've got 2 years that we want to have these goals accomplished by. 10 million individuals signing up for the plant-based treaty. I've already signed up. I hope you guys go and get onto that right away. And we've got to recruit a whole lot of other people too. 151 out of 10,000 organizations. That's what we have already is 151. We're aiming for 10,000 in 2 years, so that we've got to get working. And we have 43 businesses already. We want 10,000 businesses in 2 years. And we need 50 cities to endorse the treaty. We have 0 at the moment. Well, we've got to get working. Now let's see. This website is just so great. There's so much on it. You just, you can click anywhere and find all kinds of things. So it gives you things you can start doing. 14 ways cities can help. 13 ways businesses can help. 18 ways schools can help. If you're a teacher, lowering your carbon footprint. Take the vegan pledge. How to write a letter to the editor. That would be useful. Ask your politician. Oh, okay. 20 ways to make an impact and build momentum. Political pressure. To achieve a plant-based treaty, we need political reps from all sides of politics to endorse the treaty. Meet your political representatives and ask them to endorse it. Attend your representatives' public appearances. Get your local government to pass a motion. And business and society. Contact your local businesses, charities, and religious centers. Ask local eateries to make a meaningful shift toward plant-based, even if we could get them offering a lot of really good options at first before they go completely plant-based. Ask your local schools, hospitals, and community centers and prisons to add plant-based options, and that would be really important. Grow the plant-based treaty network. Start or join a local climate action group. We have some climate save groups that you could join, which is part of the SAVE movement. Door knock your local area, host a plant-based treaty information night, host craftivism meetups to make banners and signs. And that's really fun to do too. Creative action, put on a rally, calling for a plant-based treaty, a plant-based treaty-themed mural. That sounds fantastic. Organize a plant-based treaty projection on a landmark and political building. We have some equipment to be able to do that, and that'll be great. Make some noise, help the plant-based movement grow, write letters to the editor, make and hang a plant-based treaty banner, organize with local businesses to display the posters in shop fronts, chalk plant-based treaty images. Well, that's really good. Yeah, chalktivism. Connect with influencers and celebrities and ask them to promote the treaty on their social media. Use our social media kit to promote a food system change and the plant-based treaty. That's a link there, the social media kit, so you can get onto that. Host a film screening, food giveaway, or plant-based food festival to promote the benefits. Right. Okay, Steve. So ask cities to endorse a plant-based treaty. We need all hands on deck. Take action. Email your representatives. There's some links there, Australia, Canada. You just click on that and it'll take you to the ways you can take action. Australian, very important. Ask Australian cities to endorse a plant-based treaty. There is no Planet B. So you see, they just have to fill out the form. This is, when you click on the things, you'll get to fill this form in. It's really easy. That's the one thing about this, this whole website. It's easy to do the actions. And so everyone can get on and do it. Right.
That's it, Kat. That's what we were.
Is that the end? Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're going to show. Just, yeah, we encourage everyone to get online and have a look and basically search their way through the different options there.
So now we're going to hand over the mic to Helen, who is going to take us through an action right now, which is a Twitter storm. So thank you, Helen.
Thank you, Greta. Hi, everyone. So I'm the regional liaison for Save Oceania, and I'd like to invite everyone now to participate in this Twitter storm. So we've made it super easy for everyone, as we've put together preloaded content. So for those of you who have Twitter accounts, all you need to do is click on each of the links that I'm about to send in the chat and click tweet, and that's it. So each tweet will have either a quote or a fact, and will also invite individuals as well as organizations to become an endorser. Okay, so hopefully everyone has tweeted. Yeah, if you want to save the links, just copy paste them, save them, and please feel free to share those with others as well. And now we'll hand over to, I think it's Q&A, right? Are we at Q&A? Great.
We sure are. So thank you so much. I was still tweeting, sorry. Thank you so much, Helen, for that. And obviously, I'm hoping everyone has made at least a copy of the tweets if you can't do them now. Every single person that sends one of those around the world is making a difference. So please don't think that just not sending something is not going to make a difference. This is a worldwide campaign. And obviously, at the moment, we're all in lockdown. And it's a good opportunity to do some things that you can do from your sofa, from your kitchen table, as opposed to sitting on a train, going somewhere, or sitting in a park. These are things we can do now. It's not something that we can wait. The momentum is quite important to do now. As we would see through the IPCC report recently, we are on code red. This is the time to do stuff now. So that's why we thought it was important to launch this tonight and go through. And I can see in the chat that some people have actually signed the treaty as well. The time is now, so it's a good opportunity to go in and have a play with it and look at it now. Whilst we're doing that, we did mention that the fact of there was the opportunity to have some Q&A questions. Some people have put things in there as well, which is fantastic. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to hand over to Annie to start us up on Q&A. I've got a few questions as well after Annie, but I'll hand it over to you. Annie is a Animal Save country liaison for Australia, and she also has been running Albury Animal Save for a couple of years as well. So please, all over to you, Annie.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks everyone for attending, and those of you who have spoken so far. It's been absolutely amazing to hear from you, really inspiring, and just great to see everybody come together despite everything that's going on at the moment. I think this is a really, really important cause, and it's good to see a fair few familiar faces that I've missed seeing out on the streets. So we've had a couple of questions come through. The first one from Melody, which is a great question. The wording under this demand doesn't exactly match up. So where relinquish invokes no land changes, it seems to contradict the relinquish. Sorry. Has there been more thought about how to best word this? When we dive deeper into I'm just going to open it up on my screen, into demand one relinquish, it's actually just to no land use change for animal agriculture. So it's just to say that we don't want to be making any changes to the land in the name of animal agriculture. On the website, I'll copy and paste this just for your view, Melody, so that you have that information. But it does get a little bit more specific into that. So I hope that that kind of covers that off, because I know that it did seem a little bit confusing and a little bit contradictory, just as the single word points, but once we dive into it, it does specify specifically for animal agriculture. Now we've got a question for Emma from Kim. What was the minister's response when you told her that it takes so much water to produce 1 litre of cow's milk?
The response was quite pathetic, as it often is. The actual response, it would be somewhere public, because I asked it in budget estimates a couple of years ago. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, whenever we ask them these questions, they just kind of change the topic. So I'm pretty sure she started talking about how much water is used in plant-based agriculture. And then when you try to sort of take them back to sort of say, yes, but comparatively, it's much less, they just get sort of very argumentative and difficult. So I suspect that they know this. It's not that they're sort of shocked by these facts, but they're always trying to skirt around the issues, unfortunately, and that's some of the issues that we face with the current government we have, and as other speakers have spoken about, you know, the government's just ignoring this massive issue, and that's all the more reason why we need to make sure that this information gets out there and the pressure is put on.
Great, thank you for that. It is quite disheartening to know that they're all aware and just choosing to ignore it instead of what I know that I've thought for quite a while was that people just weren't aware of it. But as you dive deeper into veganism, you learn that people do know and they just choose to ignore the facts. The next question we have is for Greta from Melody. What do you define as a city that has endorsed the treaty? Is that a city or a local government signing and endorsing it?
Yeah, great question. So by cities, we basically mean, yeah, your local government area. So if that's, wherever your major city council is, if that makes sense. So for me here in Victoria, the closest to me would be Geelong, and then the next one up Melbourne. So it's the major cities around you, if that sort of answers the question. And yeah, so we're urging the local governments and then obviously federal governments and international governments as well.
Awesome, thank you. And a couple of questions that we had come in before the meeting as well was, what is the time limit for this? I know that we discussed that there were, by 2023 we want to hit some goals, but Greta, is there a point at which this all needs to end kind of thing, or is it something that can run on pretty much forever?
Yeah, so with this movement, we just want to make it as big as possible and run it for as long as we can and hopefully forever. So there is no strict time limits and rules. Obviously, we do want to act quickly and get as many people on board right now as soon as we can. So we do have that 2023 sort of aim, but of course, there's no strict rules and we want to sort of extend it forever because we do think this is a very important initiative that needs to carry through till the end of time.
Definitely, and as Chris has said, until mission accomplished. Definitely agree with that. Hopefully we can get it done sooner rather than later. And the last question I have before I just hand over to Jay, because he said he has a few questions, was where can I get support within my country, or how can I reach out to others if I have any questions? The website has an exceptional frequently asked questions section that will help you a lot with any conversations you're going to be having with other people who are outside of our world. For example, people who constantly think, as Kristen stated earlier, that fossil fuels are the major issue that we face when it comes to climate change. There's a great response to tackle that. There's, I think, about 5 or 6 questions on the frequently asked section of the website that I've personally found really helpful in my trying to broach the conversation with some people who aren't necessarily inherently on board. So please feel free to familiarize yourself with that. It's a great tool. The website in of itself has got so much in it, as we saw when Kat took us through it. And I think it's really, really important that we get in there, have a look at it, see everything that we possibly can do, and then also utilize that frequently asked questions area to help us have those difficult conversations. But on top of that, you've also got the country liaisons that Jason pointed out, myself, Steve, and Jason in Australia, and Kat in New Zealand, who are always available if you have any questions at all. And Greta, Youth Climate Save, who are leading the way in hopefully saving the world, are all available via the Facebook pages and everything to assist you if you need it at any point in time. So don't hesitate to reach out. We've just had a question come in as well from Susie. Is there a discussion in the treaty relating to the connection between animal agriculture, climate change, and the pandemics? Greta, over to you.
Okay, so in the treaty itself, we don't delve too much into the actual links between them, but if you do have a scroll around the website, there is some links that can take you off to it that will give you a bit of background information. But as the website is evolving and changing, I'm sure there will be more information on there about the links between climate change and animal agriculture. And I guess how we're really getting that message across is through emailing to as many businesses, organisations and cities as we can. And in those sample emails that are on the website, there is a lot about the connection between animal agriculture and climate change and about building that awareness. So we're just trying to slowly build and educate people on the connection between the two. And I'm sure more information will come about on the website as well, especially after the latest IPCC report. With a lot in there about methane emissions and that sort of a thing. So we will be building that information as well. I hope that answered the question.
Awesome, thank you. And we've just had a question come in from Darren as well. I've lost it, sorry guys. When approaching local government areas and pressing them to endorse the treaty, what would be the minimum expectation from local government? So I'm not sure, Greta, if you want to answer that as well, but I also have something on top of that to ask Emma. Just if you have any advice on how would be the best ways to approach members of the government, and how we can maybe, other than obviously the great resources on the website, but what would be any tips that you might have for us to utilize there? And then we can jump to Greta after that maybe.
Yeah, so we've run a couple of campaigns within the Animal Justice Party with councils, and so we've actually got 6 councils to go fur free, so to actually ban the sale of fur on council land. And we've also got Young AJP now doing a campaign with sentience with councils as well. We had the Blue Mountains Council was the first council in New South Wales to declare animal sentience. So there's quite a few ways that councils can do that. And the way that we approach councils is we look at progressive councils first. So we look at councils that have done really animal positive things in the past, like City of Sydney, Blue Mountains Council, Inner West Council. And then we find the progressive councillors on those councils to approach. So when you send them an email, you might ask for a meeting request. Often in the title, I actually would put meeting request on the actual email title. Keep the email very sort of short, succinct, stick to the point, and then request to actually sort of speak with them in person. And then obviously plan ahead for that meeting. Probably one of the biggest things, and I know it sounds really, really silly, but it's something that I constantly say to people. I have a lot of people that come through to me in my office in New South Wales Parliament, and they'll talk about an issue and then they'll leave and they don't ask for anything. Now that's a politician or a local member's absolute dream of a meeting, is that somebody comes in, they'll talk about something, they'll leave without actually specifically asking them to do something and having something that you can follow up from with that ask. We often get a bit awkward about asking for something from somebody, so make sure you've planned your ask before you go in. So don't sort of give them the treaty and ask them what their opinion is. Sort of say, will you actually put a notice of motion in local government? So normally it would be a notice of motion, and sort of put this on the table in whatever format. And I assume that Greta can give a bit more detail as to the question, Darren's question about, what would be the minimum that they would look at. But go in with that ask, go in and ask them to actually put a notice of motion. And the other question I always ask them as well is, are you willing to do media on this as well? They usually say yes, but then it's a really good opportunity to actually contact the local paper that covers that local council area to really get that message out further. So it's not just council making that change, but actually everybody in the local government area that reads the newspaper also reading about how important this change is if somebody actually puts up the motion and if it also passes.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Emma. That was all really, really good information. And Greta, if you wouldn't mind answering that question just on what the minimum expectation from local government is that we have on this.
Yeah, so with the minimum expectation, I guess the first thing that we want cities and local governments to do is to actually endorse the treaty. So that's, I guess that would be the minimum thing we want them to do. We want them and their city as a local government to endorse the treaty, showing their support for the treaty. And then moving forward, it's really up to them to put more actions in place, which of course we do really want them to do. So that would be all about making plant-based food options at all of their meetings and that sort of a thing. Always advertising for, because I guess like we've been talking about a lot, animal agriculture is greenwashed a lot and dismissed and put to the side. So really making that that larger awareness, I suppose, of animal agriculture and its contribution to climate change. And then also they can advertise to other people to endorse the plant-based treaty on their websites and things like that, and really just showing their support. But yeah, for the minimum thing that we would like them to do, it's just to actually endorse the treaty and show their support towards this initiative.
Thanks so much for that. And we've also had a question come in from David. Yes, please. Are we able to share on Facebook and Instagram? Please share it everywhere. Email it, write it in letters to your elderly family members. Just get it out there. Do everything that you possibly can to get people aware of what we're trying to do and to get people to sign and endorse. You never know who people know and who they might be able to also share it with themselves. So we're fully encouraging people to share it as much as they can. Even the Twitter links that Helen shared earlier, that's a really great thing. You're more than welcome to share that around. The more people we have spreading the word, the more people we have signing, the more people we have endorsing, the faster we're going to hit those goals that we're trying to achieve. With regards to Melody's just said, not a question, but a further comment, Ari, demand.
Feel free to disregard it for the moment, Annie.
No,
We can,
no,
it doesn't have to be done here.
I was just going to say, I feel, because I'm not too familiar with the land history in New Zealand and everything like that, I really don't want to say anything that could be deemed offensive or, ignorant at all. So I don't know if Chris or Kat would maybe want to respond to that to give us a little bit of
That would be Chris. That would be Chris.
yeah. I don't know if Chris wants to, or if he wants to maybe have a chat with you separately or explain to us, because it sounds like something we could learn in this situation as opposed to us answering your question. It might be more some information we could receive from you guys.
Kia ora anō tātou. Yeah, probably not something that I could comment on. I'm not an expert in the realm of reparations either, and exactly what that might look like. But I have to say as well, tautoko Melody, the word relinquish is quite a, along with the word treaty, to see the word treaty and relinquish together is quite confronting language. But potentially it's a conversation for another time in terms of how it's marketed to certain demographics. I mean, I don't know if this would be possible, but specifically catering wording, for example, for different demographics, different nationalities might be appropriate. But yeah, not exactly something that I can give any expertise on, sorry.
That's it. If I may, so the only thing that I'm trying to point out here is the word relinquish doesn't seem to support the demands that are then being provided as supporting demands. So if we use the word relinquish as a demand, what we're then saying is the demands below it don't actually match. So whether it should be a different word or whether the demands should be redone to match, but that's what I was saying, it doesn't have to be discussed right now because I know this is all something that's been done and planned.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's just,
Yeah, no, that's totally great. Please, that's fine. I think it would be a really great opportunity maybe if us as country liaisons can touch base with yourself and Chris and discuss this a little bit further, because I think it's really important that we can then take it to the global section and discuss this a little bit further, because it is really important that we are considerate of things like that. And
I think
so it would be good to do that.
No, I think just especially because I lived in Australia for 15 years as well, so I'm a bit aware of the Indigenous people's issues there, as well as coming back to New Zealand, where I'm originally from. So, and learning more about Te Tiriti o Waitangi and all of that. So I think particularly in New Zealand and Australia, maybe some places in the United States of America and potentially in Canada as well, they might have some very strong connotations and feelings around the word relinquish. And we just want to make sure that whatever those demands that sit below the word relinquish are, do match up solidly with what that word means. So yeah, whoever's at that international level, I think, it would be great to have that NZ Australia conversation, have that kōrero to then take up further. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that'll be great. We'll touch base with you guys offline and we'll definitely work something out. So that is a wrap for the questions that we've got in the chat. I'm not sure if Jason still had any that he wanted to bring to the table, but I think we covered some pretty good stuff there. So thank you all so much for your contributions to the discussion. It's been really great.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you very much for that. Very interesting discussion there. I do have a couple of questions, but I do also want to give a couple of plugs because we've had a couple of businesses that have signed it as well. We've got Chris Bartley in Sweet Release, who signed up on behalf of the vegan business, and also Harry in, where's it gone here, in the wonderful cafe or Hippocrates Healthy Eatery in Randwick, which is a fantastic place to go and eat. I've eaten there before. So thank you very much. And also the other people that have said they've signed it as well. It doesn't take very long to do it. So please actually do sign it and complete the Twitter storm as well. Got a couple of questions myself. I know that the time is probably ticking. But Emma, I'm really interested in, obviously with the election coming up, obviously climate's going to be there on the agenda for the next election, I'm guessing. So at what point of the tipping point do you think that we can get animal agriculture into that argument in the chamber?
It's a really interesting one, because the reason why a lot of politicians won't talk about it, and you'll notice that actually, and I think Kristen was saying that no political parties are really talking about it, even the political parties that we think are really quite progressive or going in that direction. I mean, if you have a look at how the voting rests and the seats that they're fighting for, we've got quite a few electorates which are very farming heavy, and a lot of those political parties want to gain those seats. So that's the sticking point. That's what makes it so difficult to get political parties to come to the table and to start to discuss this. But I think that actually having the Animal Justice Party in, and that finally somebody is bringing it to the table, has actually broken some of that silence. And really it's about constantly putting it on the table and actually forcing those other political parties to develop a position and to recognise what's going on. And I think that the real solution to that is around positive discussions around transformation, rather than, let's collapse this entire industry because of all these problems. It's about putting the solution on the table and actually getting some people from within the industry to also come to the table to discuss some of those solutions. And we are seeing that already happening quite a bit in the US. I've got a meeting coming up with a legislator in the US who is actually putting up a piece of legislation around transformation. So I think it's about starting that story and really pushing that with the political parties. And I mean, that is new ground for a lot of other political parties. I don't think anybody has really given much consideration to actually transforming farmers out of the industry and putting them into plant-based industries. So it's really about starting those discussions and framing it in a very positive way, so that political parties don't get scared around losing their votes around those farming-focused electorates. So there's a lot of work to be done there, but I think that that's one of the ways we can at least get some of the more progressive parties to start to come to the table and actually discuss some of these issues. And definitely the election time is a really good time. And I think one of the suggestions that Greta read out as well was, asking representatives questions. And so when you do go to election, you'll see that whoever is running in the election is usually there at a community hall. I know because I have run for elections and I've been in some of these community halls where everybody in the community can ask questions. So go there with some of those questions and say, where do you stand on these issues? Why has your party been ignoring them? So constantly bring them to account and get them to start to think about these issues and actually force them to answer them in a public forum.
Thank you, Emma. That's really, really quite interesting, actually. And obviously, we are gearing up for the election. So at some stage, there's going to be a lot more noise about climate and election. And there's so many videos and so many things coming out, report so many things. But as you said, New Zealand and Australia is very much farming community. And as was mentioned earlier as well, we've got so much overseas, the export market. So therefore, it's not just based on the veganism here, it's also what's happening overseas. And there's a big, big trend there. Another question I've got for all three actually on the panel, or whoever wants to take it. The question I've had in the last few months is, now we're in lockdown. So we've been in lockdown. It's very difficult to do protests. It's very difficult to get out and about. Are there any inspiring ideas or any inspiring moves or words that you guys can give us to say, look, we can actually still make an impact? Who would like to take that first? Chris, Kristen, or Emma?
Yeah, kia ora anō tātou. I would say just fight that impatient feeling that you have. It's sometimes good to take a bit of time. This is a great time to read more books, follow up on reports that you may not have seen, and to work on your toolkit for any future actions that you might be doing. I don't believe lockdown is going to be there forever, so now is the perfect time to be planning future actions. Look after your mental health, look after your physical health, do what you can to look after yourself, so that when this passes, that we're able to, again, get active. So that would be my word of advice for now.
Cool. So Kristen or Emma, next. What's your advice?
Well, Vegan Rising sort of formed to be a direct action organisation, so it's been a real bummer to do direct action at home. I've found it really difficult, actually, but I think there's so many different groups doing fantastic work online, and with, you know, even if it's just educating with graphics and using this time to design graphics and information and things like that. But when you're trying to do investigations and direct actions, it's tricky. So I guess we've been spending that time whenever we're out of lockdown, trying to really focus on those investigations for our next action. And then when we're in lockdown, doing the background work so that when we're out and we do the actions, that we're prepared with our media releases and with our event information and the follow-ups and how people can get involved. And so there's definitely things that we're doing and we can keep doing, but it's not, we need to get out soon, that's for sure, because it's all still happening out there and we're just not as able to stop it. So, but yeah, I don't know if that's very inspiring. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It's the reality of the situation we're in. But yeah, if we can use the time to plan for when we're out, if you are a direct action activist, then that's probably the best thing you can be doing.
Thank you, Kristen. Emma, any words of wisdom from you?
Look, I think that, you know, I would go look back at some of the things that Greta actually presented earlier, and a lot of the actions and a lot of the parts of the treaty can still be done from home. You know, even as we haven't been sitting in Parliament, but what I have found is it's a lot easier to actually meet people online. People have a lot more time because they're not traveling around the place. So if you were looking at actually spreading the plant-based treaty, you could contact all of your local members in your local council, email them now, request a Zoom meeting with them and present the plant-based treaty to them now. And they have more time because they're not having to travel in and out of work, that it's much easier for them to jump on a 10 or 15 minute Zoom call and actually listen to what you're presenting them now than actually arranging a meeting where you go in and talk to them face to face. So it's actually an ideal time to at least start some of those discussions with councils. Also, everybody's on social media. And one thing that I have found is that, and this happened in both lockdowns, when we first went into lockdown, that's all everyone was talking about. It's all the media was talking about. And then in the last lockdown, we kind of reached a peak and people really got over it and they were looking for something else. They're looking for other content. And eventually the media caught on to that as well. And the media sort of started to change what they're talking about. And I have found that we've actually just gone over that peak now. People aren't talking about the lockdowns anymore. They're looking for different information. They're looking for different discussion points. And you'll find the same on social media. And the media is looking for different stories as well. So now's a really good time to start putting information out on social media and starting those conversations with friends and family or anybody else that you want to encourage to become an individual supporter to sign up to the plant-based treaty. So I think actually now is actually an ideal time, not in every single way, not with that direct action and sort of speaking to people on the streets, but there is definitely a lot of stuff we can do from behind a computer screen, and particularly for the plant-based treaty and getting that moving.
Thank you, Emma. All three of you, very interesting questions you got there. What I found as well that's really interesting is on LinkedIn, there's a lot of cell-based agriculture companies that are talking about the reason for their products is purely for the environmental reasons. And it's very interesting because there's lots of this happening in Singapore, which doesn't want to rely on imports of meat and animals from overseas. They are actually leading the way in cell-grown agriculture. But in Australia, when we're talking about transitioning to away from animal agriculture, we have here companies like Magic Valley over in Victoria, which are specializing in lab-grown sheep and lamb, which obviously is more on the environmental side, but doesn't need to have the animal being used in land or any form of export and things. We also have Val Foods, which is looking at cell-grown kangaroo. So there's lots of Australian-based companies which are using the environmental cause to move away from animal-based agriculture. So another form of actually finding content is to actually look at these companies and use some of the information they've got with regards to the environmental reasons to move away from plant-based agriculture. So there's lots of good other sources out there that people can use as well. So I think we have got our time up, and I could probably go on all night if needed. We have a comment again. We have the agriculture, Sue's mentioning Australia, the agriculture minister telling the government scientists, CSIRO, to stop promoting plant-based meat, which is very interesting. What do they say about when you do actually, when you're winning, they try and fight and ridicule. So I would say that's a very good sign. So thank you for that. So tonight, just to follow up, I just want to thank, and we want to thank everyone on behalf of Animal Save Australia. We would like to thank everyone for coming along tonight. Thank you so much for taking interest in such an informative and fantastic initiative that SAVE has launched, and so many people are getting behind. I would like to thank our speakers. Thank you very much, Emma Hurst, for the work you're doing for animals, and also the work that you're doing for the plant-based treaty and being an early endorsement. Also, Chris, thank you very much. You've given us some fantastic information from what's happening over in New Zealand as well. Thank you so much for that. And please follow Chris on social media if you get a chance. Kristen as well, thank you very much for your time today and your informative views as well. Some excellent actions that you've been doing there as well. So please follow these people. They've got some really good ideas and initiatives that's been happy. Please, as I say, the walk away and takeaway today isn't just tonight listening to this, it's actually doing the actions. It's actually reading through the website that Kat talked through about what you can do and listening to the speakers about how to bring it to life, which is the call to action. Other people I'd like to thank today, I'd like to thank Greta. Thank you so much for hosting this event and all the information you've done. I'd like to thank Steve for the technical things, which I've got no idea of, and I don't think any of us do. So thank you very much, Steve, for making it happen. I'd like to thank Kat, Annie, and Helen. Thank you so much again for your parts that you played today, and also country liaisons for SAVE. So with no further ado, thank you so much. We do have a parting video to an animation for you to watch. So please still hang on, but we will say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have set us in a path to accelerating climate destruction. Forest fires, droughts, floods, species extinction, ocean collapse, crop failures, dangerous levels of methane, carbon dioxide, and nitrous oxide, melting Arctic permafrost. Animal agriculture has ruined our forests, oceans, air, water, and animals' lives. Our beautiful planet can take no more. We need a rescue plan. The 3 R's. Everybody, green thumbs up. We need to create coalitions and adopt bold climate actions to phase out fossil fuels and animal agriculture before it's too late. Plant-based treaty to the rescue. Everybody, green thumbs up. Everyone everyone can play their part, whether you're at school, a business, politician, a community group, an activist. We need individuals, groups, businesses, and cities to help implement solutions and put pressure on national governments to take action and negotiate a global plant-based treaty. Pay attention to the 3 R's. Number 1, relinquish. Let's not make the problem worse. No new animal farms, slaughterhouses, or deforestation for animal agriculture. Number 2, redirect. Let's transition to a healthy plant-based food system. Number 3, restore. To heal the problem by reforesting the earth. Time is running out. We have less than 5 years to solve the crisis. Everybody, green thumbs up. Eat plants, plant trees. Endorse the plant-based treaty.